Now that I have the pleasure of introducing our speaker for today. I know she's not a stranger to most of you, but she's a lot, so I want to make sure I include it all. Dr. LeTa is a doctor of acupuncture and oriental medicine. She is a practitioner of higher consciousness and a board member here at Inner Light. Having treated patients for over the past 14 years, Dr. LeTa is a specialist that understands the frustration of people who are trying to achieve wellness in a healthcare system that focuses on symptom management rather than identifying and addressing the root cause of the problem. Thank God for you. You can find her in private practice in downtown Santa Cruz, reach her through her telehealth practice from her website, or take one of her health and fitness classes in person or online. And without further ado, let me introduce Dr. LeTa.
Can you hear me? All right. I took a couple notes. So, good morning. Good morning. So, I'm so grateful Rev asked me to talk today because that means that she's with her loved ones in Sacramento. And when she shared with me the theme for the month, Release, I thought it was really fitting. Release for health and vitality. I don't know if it's my Asian ears, but this thing always falls. Let's see if we can keep it on. Okay, we'll try it. So I want to start out, my intention for today is for me to, because of the work I do in my private practice, I'm able to understand when someone comes in and they shares, what's going on with them. It could be a physical symptom, it could be an emotional thing, a certain situation. There's such rich poetry with what the words that we use and what we're not saying, the space in between. And I'm able to take that information and discern it and diffuse it and give feedback in a way that it's very efficient and useful. So what I was thinking what we could do today is for me to share a little bit about how you can interpret this machine, this beautiful, brilliant, resilient intelligence. Because I think that one of the things most of us at this point in our life, why don't we learn about this? We learn about all these other things. I just can't get my head around it. If I could learn how to balance a checkbook and cook for myself and understand what this thing is saying to me, it would be amazing. So I want to start with the definition, because we probably already know the definition of release, but I thought this might be a little helpful. So we have the verb and the noun, but let's talk about the verb. To allow or enable to escape from confinement or set free. Okay, that makes sense. Allow something to move, act, or flow freely. Okay. To set free from restraint or servitude. To relieve from something that burdens, that oppresses, to give up in favor of another, relinquish, or to make available to the public. So as I'm talking today, I want you to think about all the things that you can release. Thoughts, habits, people, experiences, things you're doing, out of habituation, out of the slumber, the hypnotic trance that we might be in sometimes. Okay, so just be thinking, set that attention for today. So the noun is the action or the process of releasing or being released. Relief from sorrow, suffering, or trouble. Discharge from obligation or responsibility. The act or an instance of liberating or freeing in the state of being freed. So what's interesting about that for me was, it's not just about you letting it go for you, it's also, it could be for someone else. It's very simple, like when we donate things to Goodwill, right? So one of the ultimate releases, I was thinking about this, was giving up your child, right? That's kind of an ultimate release, right? So many of you know that I was born in Saigon, in Vietnam, during the war in '72. And part of my journey here has been, we're all trying to figure out and make use of life. What does it give us, right? And so as I've gone through my own trajectory, and thank God I've gone through the studies and studied under Reverend Deborah for freedom, for release. But it's like you get to a point where you realize life is happening through us. That's one of the main principles we study here. And until I was able to realize the power that God has given me, it literally is one of those little aha moments of heaven, man, and earth. That means that man, us, is one of the main three powers. That's a lot of power. And so part of my younger youth was coming from the values that my adopted parents instilled in me as a family, that you do anything for your people, anything for your tribe, just like this community. Someone's sick, soup train, right? Etienne needed a ride this morning, right? Got stuck on the way here in a flat tire, community. So in my younger years, we're trying to make use of who am I? That bigger existential question I'm hoping all of us are asking almost every day, who am I? I realized that my parents instilled in me that you do anything for your family, you show up. And so in my younger years, I couldn't get my head around the concept of, even in the midst, financial, the appearance of life, why would you give up your child? That's one of the questions that I've had to think about. And I realized, oh my God, it's been the best gift of my life. Are you kidding me? Getting to come to America, the land of the free, even getting myself to California. I drove from Massachusetts, and as closer I got to California, for me, it felt spaciousness. I felt possibility. I felt like a clean slate of asking myself, how can creativity come through me? And I don't know if it's just the salty air, or the cannabis I smell in the air. I don't know. But I realized that freedom is a state of mind, And so I'm able to really integrate that idea that choice that my mother had to do, which is, I'm assuming, one of the hardest things a woman would have to do, is to give me up, to release me, so for a better life. How unselfish is that? That's huge. What a gift. So every day I think about that. I think about, how can I be that courageous to give what I hold so sacred for that? So that has really been profound. So, part of, I think that we call in the exact people, the exact experiences, the exact jobs, interactions for our good. I actually had an amazing family. I grew up on Cape Cod. I was adopted into a Finnish family. They grow cranberries for ocean spray. And what's interesting is that I'm really grateful my dad was a farmer. He mainly, even to this day, talks about the weather, talks about nature, the animals. If you see my text thread with him, it's pictures of birds and, what kind of animals cross across the land in our backyard today. Really beautiful, really amazing. But one of the things that I've shared also before in pulpit with you before is that, I've always wanted to have a connection with God. My best friend was Catholic, so she went to school and after school and would study on Sundays. And I never understood why that we never went to church. And she told me that the closest that you'll ever get to God is out in nature, out with yourself. And so we would go out to the beach with our Forerunner and spend the day on the beach in nature. And fast forwarding, I am a doctor of Oriental medicine, and the whole premise of Chinese medicine is connecting with yourself, and you do it through nature. It's finding balance, okay? So today, as we're in Santa Cruz with the rains washing over us, There is metaphors everywhere. I want you to realize that this rain is a baptism. It's anew. You can really think of that, you know. My dad takes a shower every night and every morning. Why? To rinse off the energy of the day. It's an amazing current, water, which we're made of a lot of water. So what I was thinking is that I wanted to share a few things. I normally don't really share personal stuff here. This is, I think, my 4th or 5th time up here. And I'm realizing that, you know, I definitely want to impart to you some things about the body that I think would be really useful to you. But last week when Rev texted me about release for health and vitality as a theme, I thought it was really kind of funny because I couldn't turn my neck. I have had some neck issues all week, literally, to the point where I'm not really exercising, and it's really stopped me. You know, has anyone else had an issue with their body where they, you know, they can't? Okay, I'm not alone. So I wish there was a movie made so we could see this, but from the beginning of time, since the beginning of time, there are people that have studied painstakingly about how this works, how plants work. Okay? There are people that have ingested plants, eaten plants, soaked it in alcohol, smoked it. I'm sure they've done all these different things to figure out how it works in the body. Okay? People have also discovered modalities, right? The EFT, the tapping, there's network chiropractic, there's acupuncture, there's tons of healing arts. Okay? They figured out how this body works to the point where we could just pick up our smartphone and Google something. Most people know about Louise Hay by now, right? So if I can't lift my arm, what does that mean? There's an emotional quality there to that. So when something's going on with me or a patient, what do? I'm looking for where are they stuck, okay? In Chinese medicine, it is so simple. You either are blocking or you're leaking. I always say, think of a garden hose. Are there leaks? Are you leaking money? Are you leaking energy? Are you blocking? Are there knots in the hose? How are you blocking energy? So when this happened with my neck, my first reaction was, why is this happening to me? Oh, why is this happening for me? Yes, oh, that's right. So it takes me a moment to get into that. And then I ask myself, well, where is it? And for me, this is a little bit new. This is a C2, cervical 2. So most of us know the spine. We have the cervical spine, the thoracic, the lumbar, and the sacral. And we actually know that from the brain, the messenger, we have this amazing hardwire system, okay? So I looked up C2. So if you don't know about what your body is telling you, I always say you gotta sit in stillness. Because if you can sit in stillness, and literally, I mean, sometimes it takes me like almost an hour, and sometimes it's quick. You will be able to get that information. Now, the reason healing modalities and people like me exist is when you can't interpret what's going on. Sometimes we don't know. So C2, I thought this was really interesting. So in the cervical spine, C2 is avoiding communication. Oh, darn it. And I was like, well, what am I avoiding? And then you go through your life, someone tells you something, go to someone like me, and I say that to you. I'm like, well, what are you avoiding? So I'm doing this with myself this week, and I'm thinking, I'm fine. I'm expressing myself. I mean, there's nothing, I'm good, going deeper, right? So I don't know if you guys are experiencing anything, but each cell has memory, right? So I was just going to share with you a couple of them. So scanning your body right now, noticing your cervical spine, your thoracic, your lower back, your sacral. I was just going to pick one from each one. So C2 is avoiding communication. Even if you don't know which lumbar, just pick one. T5, thoracic 5, where the heart is, feeling trapped, right, betrayed. Very specific. In the lumbar, L3, let's see, here we go, L4, feeling or fearing that one is failing in life. Sacral, let's do sacral 1, which is at the top. Trying to hold onto everything, unable or willing to let go. Right, that's a release one. And then we'll do the coccyx. So if you're having coccyx pain, belief that self is not worthy of respect or of being treated with kindness or consideration. So I'm only giving those examples. I've given you acupuncture point examples in the past. Every aspect of our physical fabric, yes, we might be having a physical symptom, but in the world of the healing arts, in the world of the mystical, the metaphysical, it's literally tied to a spiritual quality, a spiritual affirmation that's wanting to come through based on an emotional disharmony. That's it. So this is literally a GPS. It's a thermometer. It's literally a compass, and it's beautiful. It's literally saying things to us. So whatever it is, I loved the reading today and the affirmations that Rev wrote, because whatever it is that you want to feel or have or be, we all know right now it's just us getting in the way. So how do we diffuse and silence and lessen the noise to distill what's really important? Okay? So if you're going to buy new furniture, you're going to get rid of the old first, right? Declutter, right? So release. Buying new clothes, you get rid of the clothes first. Anyone's going to say that before buying the new. This process of letting go and releasing can literally free up so much energy. It's just kinetic energy. You have so much available energy in you right now, you probably don't even know what to do with it. That's how much energy is pumping through you. It's really amazing. So, we talk about less is more a lot. In the reading today, really amazing, very simple. Said something like, don't just do something, sit there. And in the last talk, I talked about yin. So on the solstice, December 21st, that's when yin, everything comes to a point. And then yang is going to grow, and then, of course, we head to the spring and summer. So I looked up this morning how many thoughts we have in a day. Does anyone know? 60 to 80,000. That means 2,000 to 3,000 thoughts an hour. That's a lot of thoughts, right? So in Chinese medicine, cyclical thinking, energy's still moving. Rev talks about this all the time. You're just not going anywhere, okay? So if you're having 2,000 to 3,000 thoughts an hour, which ones are the ones that you really want to nourish, right? It's very similar to friends. Which ones do you want to nourish? Those connections. Let's talk about emotion, because this is really where rubber hits the road, right? So guess how many emotions you feel every day? Most humans right now, they're saying somewhere between 6 and 9. And you're feeling each one of those emotions 3 to 4 times a day. So scan your life this week, Thanksgiving. Which emotions did you feel like, even if we all felt like 6 emotions, we all felt each of them 3 times that day. At the end of the day, you know what you're saying to yourself? You probably pick the one emotion that really won't serve you, and you say, that's your reality. That's the emotion I felt all day. Even though you felt all of them, we forget. Okay? So I want you to be thinking about that. So in Chinese medicine, we have what we call the Shen, okay? One of 3 treasures. Shen means spirit. And I want to share this with you because I think when I was studying the 5 elements in Chinese medicine, the way the medicine came to America, in the 50s, the communism stripped like the spiritual aspect of Chinese medicine away. So a lot of the textbooks that were written, mainly in England actually, so we could pass an exam and have it formalized education here, the spirit was stripped away. And there's a movement called Five Elements where people wanted to bring the spirit back into Chinese medicine. And so five elements are, in Chinese medicine, they're fire, earth, metal, water, and wood. So most of us know that. Ayurvedic has four, they have air. But what's interesting is that the five elements have an emotional, spiritual quality to each of them, and you have all those within you. But from a spiritual standpoint, I think it's really useful today for me to impart on you some things that you may never hear in the treatment room when you see someone like me. And I think this is really useful. It's very empowering. So each of these spirits that I'm going to go through, Shen, are related to what we call yin and yang, the yin organs. And that's not necessarily too important, but yin means stillness, okay? So when we're still, there's a cultivation of a spiritual aspect within you that's happening, hence connection to God, connection to you. So in order to wake up the Shen in the organs, it's very similar to calling in spirits like in a shamanic ritual. So in order for you to, again, cultivate that in you, you have to actually sit still. That's why we meditate before service. So when these five Shen are in balance in your body, we call it that you are vibrating in complete resonance with harmony of the spheres, because each of them relate to planets, and they also relate to a certain direction, a movement. I'll tell you why this is important. Oh, sorry. You guys have heard that blood, emotions live in the blood, that phrase that we use here in America, her blood is boiling, or, there's some phrases around that. So emotions live in the blood. I was thinking about this when I was combing my hair today. Have you ever combed your hair and there's hair in the brush? Right. After the shower, there's skin. I mean, we're continuously releasing, right? So not only are we releasing hair every day, right, releasing toxins out of our mouth, skin, we're shedding. Emotions live in the blood, okay? So much as getting your hair cut frequently helps release new energy. When people break up in partnerships, you know how some people get their hair cut, new job, new place to live, haircut. So I'm saying that is that one of the three treasures, the spirit lives in the blood. And in order for your blood to give yourself life, it has three aspects in Chinese medicine. Jing, which is from your parents, Shen, which is your spirit, and then blood. Okay, three treasures that make everything good to go. Now, I want to talk about very succinctly what you need to know as far as when I'm reading through these five, I want you to think about where in you and where in your life does it need to be embraced. Don't think about all of them. Go deep with one area, because if you do, that one place, it will affect every relationship, not only just with yourself, okay? Your only job is to become a master of your own chi. That's it. Flow state, right? The only thing that you have control over is yourself, right? So in the springtime, before I get to this, we always tell patients, don't drink coffee. You don't need caffeine because energy is naturally surging up, right? So not only are you in relationship to the elements, but you can use, movement, use plants, use food, use adaptogens, use anything to kind of bring you back. But it's a deeper listening and almost looking at your life a little bit differently. So this is super exciting. So the first one is the heart, okay? It's called the emperor, okay? And this is, and the spiritual name in the heart is called Shen. So stay with me. I'm not going to get too academic on you. So your heart houses what we call the spirit of the mind, okay? So think of this. When your heart is clear and the Shen of your heart is clear, it's going to reflect the quality of your consciousness, which can be perceived through your eyes. So how does this relate? So when you are peacefully heart-centered, Your direction is clear. You're seeing through your eyes. You're connected to your deeper desire and your feelings. So think of this. This is emotional life. This is insight here. So we call this when your heart is balanced and peaceful, you can see clearly, and your shen is clear. So if you ever looked at someone and they don't seem like they're really there behind the eyes, that's when you know we need to purify their heart, the spiritual aspect of the heart. And that relates to consciousness, okay? Now the second one is the lungs. And we call this the po, the corporeal soul. This is about everyday desires, short-term concerns. Because in Chinese medicine, when you leave this body, the spiritual aspect of your lungs actually die with it. So this aspect is only in your body right now. This is the metal element, but it has to do with disappointments and happiness, but it has to do with physical discomfort. So when the spirit of your lungs is clear and healthy and balanced, you're able to be connected to God. You're able to really realize that grace is bestowed upon your life. When you take deep breaths, you're infusing this body with spirit, with life. Really important to access clear, deep breathing, to have a clear po, which means what is important for me in this life, okay? Then we have the liver. This is the ethereal soul. We call it in Chinese medicine the hun, okay? So this has to do with visioning, deeper visioning for your life. This has to do with you being a pioneer, kind of like you being a CEO of your own life. So what happens is that when the hun is clouded, you can't see. And this isn't what you're seeing here right now. This is seeing third eye, vision for you. So why do we want our liver to have a healthy spirituality or healthy connection? It allows us to have courage to follow your vision, to be in the world and kind of be a revolutionary. I think even living right now is revolutionaries. And then the last one is the kidney. And the kidney gives you the will to act. We call it je. So the spiritual aspect of the kidney, it's the water element, but it allows you to have will towards your goal, more from a deeper place. It's think of it as your deepest reservoir within your legacy. And the kidneys, think of adrenals. If you have that spirituality come through the heart and out to the world, it's pure, right? Instead of concocting something up from here, right? So we're going through life, and we want to change something about our life. We want to change our feeling state. We're noticing things aren't really great lately, or I don't like my job, I want to change my house, I don't like this weather, whatever it is that you're thinking that you want to shift. You know, we're ending a decade. And in Chinese, once we get to January 25th, it's a whole new 12-year cycle with the animals, starting with the rat year. So we have a real opportunity here, especially with these couple weeks of rain, to really be sitting still in this time until we get to the solstice. To first of all, of course, always remember and be grateful for what is and what we have. But be thinking about this notion of release. What can we release? I remember I was living in San Francisco, and I got a call that my sister had 3 months to live. And I told you a little bit about myself, that my family is really important to me. And my sister is like one of my best friends. And what happens when you get a call like that? What do? Well, you pack up your life and you move home. You do whatever it takes, right? So within 3 days, quit my job. I was working out of Levi Strauss and told my roommates I was out of here and got back home, right? And I'm kind of scrappy. Rolled up my sleeves. I didn't know what I was doing. But I was saying, I'm not going to let my sister die. And the one thing that really brought me into medicine, you have to understand that I was probably drinking Coca-Cola back then. The only vegetables was probably my lettuce on my burger. I think I'd gone to a chiropractor, yeah, but had never experienced Chinese medicine or plants. And what I couldn't get my head around is how can a person, a doctor, give someone such a finite sentence just from a piece of paper? Because that's what you can measure. But you know as well as I do, there's things you can measure and things you can't measure. But don't you think both are important? You can't measure love. So I committed myself from that experience to say, make use of me. If I can do anything in this life, is to remind people to understand that you have so much power over your body, over your state of your mind, your state of your emotions. That's what you actually have control over. But we have to release any idea, any notion that we don't have control, that things are happening to us. Rev talks a lot about it. If you're frustrated with the medical system, or you're frustrated with the government system, or whatever it is. So, of course, she had a team of doctors in Boston, Mass General Hospital, and Brigham Young's. Amazing institutions, amazing doctors. Of course, they know what they're doing based on that paradigm, on that lens. So anytime that you're engaging with anything or anyone, please step back a second. I always tell patients when you're wanting to make a change, step back like Route 66. Get the bigger view. Let the information come in. Where does it land? And is it like, that makes sense to me? Leaning in, yes or no? Remember, this is a GPS. So in the end, my sister's fine. She's fine. She's a nurse now. She went back to school, happily married, health is great. I helped her with plants. I had dial-up Yahoo and the Yellow Pages back then. I didn't know anything what I was doing. I told you I was scrappy. But I had belief. I had belief that these doctors didn't know who my family was, And I'm glad I was that ignorant. So yeah, I went down to the nursery and bought burdock root and all these nasty herbs that I made her drink. But same thing happened with my brother. He had an inoperable tumor the size of almost a golf ball behind his tongue. You can't operate and you can't do chemo and radiation there. Boston, I'm from Cape Cod, right? So what did I do? Plants. I can target the tumor behind the tongue with plants, but Western medicine gave him 6 months to live. That's it. They couldn't even do anything about it. And I can get there through plants. Shrunk the tumor, he's fine. But Western only gave him 6 months to live. Okay? So I could tell you, I have very personal stories on why that life has navigated me to release any sort of notion. I don't care how much we build up Harvard. I'm grateful for Harvard, but these ideas that they know or someone knows. I want to remind you that yes, do your due diligence and get the facts, things we can measure. But the things you can't measure is like the golden elixir. You have this built-in system that is just profoundly beautiful. And I'm really here. I know part of my why is to remind you that yes, use people like me when you can't figure out what the messages are saying. Absolutely. People will come in with ear ringing, low backache. They come in with random symptoms, but I'm saying, oh, it's easy. That's just the kidney. That's just the water system. Let's just get to it. Yes, use people like me. But the best thing I can impart on you is that in this moment of finishing up the last 4 weeks of the decade and preparing for the new 12-year cycle, is with this theme, what can you release? Thoughts, habits, behaviors, people, foods, anything, clothes, clutter, right? What can you release to then allow to, make room for new to come in? Because you guys, we all know we can't make room for new if we don't let go. We know this. So I was sharing with you, and it might have been a little bit academic, but I was sharing with you the 5 aspects of the Shen, of the spiritual aspects that are in your body temple. And I'm saying that to you because when we're going through what we call a breakdown or emotional disharmony or a crisis, healing crisis, it's really challenging to know where to focus in on, okay? Where is there a crack, an opening? Because the art for you is, if I were to open up the window, I don't want to open up too much, it could be overwhelming. I want to open it up just right for you to see possibility and potentiality. And most of the work I do is through my lens, through talking, but I do it with plants. And I want to encourage all of you, because of the discovery of the endocannabinoid system, and if you don't know about it, it's this amazing system of adapters in your body, in your brain, wired for you to wake up to a spiritual being and to be here and give your gifts. It's pretty profound. And most of us are deficient in this system, and that's why cannabis is such a big conversation right now, because it doesn't matter if you're eating kale. Yes, please eat kale. But nothing but cannabis is going to conduct receptors in your brain. And the 2 cannabinoids that you make in your brain are anandamide. Ananda is Sanskrit for bliss, so you make the bliss molecule, and you make the motivation to thrive and be here molecule, 2-arachidonoglycerol. And I don't want to go too far into that, but when you make these 2 cannabinoids in your brain on demand to be happy and to be motivated, it is amazing that you're in flow state, present, giving your gifts. We call it a relaxed energy. And when you don't make these cannabinoids, your system is deficient. And gratefully, we can take extract from a cannabis plant. It's really profound. Each plant on this, each flower has medicine. She has messages for you. And many of us use plants every day. And they have their own spirituality and they have their own intelligence. And I bring this up to you today before I close, is that if you don't have all the ingredients to make a cake, it's really hard to make a cake, right? Without that, even that pinch of salt or that teaspoon of vanilla, even though trace amounts, it's hard to make that cake. So I always say to you, make sure that you have all the ingredients. First, structure for function. Then, sit in stillness long enough, even though it makes you crazy. Even if you want to physically move, sit in stillness until spirit moves you. But make sure you do it with intention. And I will close on this, that there have been so many times and experiences in my own life, especially the ones I've shared with you, that I've had to release on what I thought it was supposed to look like, what I thought my life was supposed to look like, what I would think if my life looked like if my parents kept me. What would it be like if we didn't release everything we knew and trusted from these doctors? On many occasions, I know that I'm a living testament to releasing what I thought I was supposed to be. So I invite you to join me in what I call this inquiry of how can all of us, especially as a community, what can we release? Because if we do, the abundance of energy and chi, of health and vitality is it's just literally right there. It is available. It's almost like just picking up the phone. And we can Google something, it's that instant. So I'm grateful always to be here and part of the community, and I hope that there's been something that landed for you. And I just know that we are releasing this building, but we are releasing the notion of what we think this community is supposed to look like. And I know that we are here to step into our greater yet to be, individually and collectively. So thank you, everybody. Thank you. Thanks. Thank you. All right, so let's go ahead and just quiet our eyes. Let's turn within in this moment. We're just going to take a collective breath. And when we exhale out our mouth, we release, we let go. Let's take a couple deep inhales and let's exhale out of the mouth. You can wiggle your body a little bit. Shake it out. We let go and we let God. We're just knowing in this moment that the word has been spoken. How this sound bath is washed upon this body temple as a reminder that all we have to do is be. As we let the rains come and wash over our cars, wash over this land, and wash over ourselves. We thank you, God, for this water, this baptism of a new beginning, a new decade, a new chapter, just because. We thank you, God, for blessing us with this beautiful day that we come together today to remind ourselves of who we are, to remind ourselves that we're on the journey that God makes a way out of no way. So I'm knowing that in this Thanksgiving, we have so much to be grateful for. And we start with gratitude of this body temple, this beautiful heart and brilliant mind, and this resilience of this GPS system that we call the human body temple. So I make a pledge that I will listen to you. I will listen to her. I will listen to him. What am I saying? How am I directing the course of my life? What do I put my attention on? What is my deepest intent? As we're nearing the end of this December, what can I release? What can I let go of? We set into motion this idea, this dream, this visualization, this fantasy that, yes, heaven on earth is right now. So I thank you, God. I thank you for this consciousness, this awakeness, this alertness, this aliveness, this beauty that is all around us. So I take these words in my heart, in the fabric of my being, and knowing that I just know it right now as it is. It is true, it is good, and it is done. So we just allow ourselves to get out of the way, and we just allow ourselves to be. And so it is. Amen. Amen.